Rakshasa City. It is said that Ma Ji, whose courtesy name is Long Media, is the son of a businessman. He is personable and talented. He has been free and easy since he was a child. He likes to sing and dance. She often performs with the troupe and wraps her head with a brocade handkerchief, just like a beautiful girl, so she is also known as handsome person. He was admitted as a scholar at the age of 14 and became very famous. My father was old and frail, so he gave up doing business and went home to live leisurely. He said to Ma Ji, "There are several volumes of books that cannot be cooked and eaten when hungry, and cannot be used as clothes when cold. My son should inherit his father's business and go into business." From then on, Ma Ji slowly started doing business. Once, Ma Ji went overseas to do business with others and was blown away by a hurricane. After drifting for several days and nights, we came to a city. When Ma Ji first saw this scene, he was still very scared, but when he realized that those people were afraid of him, he bullied them instead. But those who looked ugly ran away after looking at him and never dared to come near him. Those who come have facial features in roughly the same position as the Chinese. They put out wine and food to entertain Ma Ji. Ma Ji asked why they were afraid of him, and replied, "I once heard my grandfather say that 26,000 miles to the west, there is China. The images of the people there are very mysterious and strange. I only heard about it before, but now I believe it." When asked why they were so poor, the villagers replied, "What our country values is not knowledge and talent, but appearance. The most beautiful ones will be high officials, and the less beautiful ones will be small officials. Even the less beautiful ones can be favored by the nobles. The food we received was rewarded to feed our wives and children. For people like us, when we were just born, our parents thought it was unlucky and they were often abandoned. What our parents couldn't bear to throw away was just to continue the family line." Ma Ji asked, "What is this country called?" He replied, "It is called the Great Rakshasa Kingdom, and its capital is 30 miles to the north." Several more riders came out, and the villagers said, "This is the doctor," pointing out the official positions of each person next to each other. Most of them were ugly people with disheveled hair and hideous looks. The lower the official position, the less ugly the person becomes. After a while, Ma Ji walked back. When people in the market saw him, they screamed in fright and stumbled away, as if they had encountered a monster. The villagers repeatedly explained that only people in the market dared to stand and watch from a distance. After returning, everyone in the Rakshasa Kingdom knew that there was a strange person in the mountain village. So all the officials, big and small, wanted to see him, so they asked the people in the village to send Ma Ji there. But every time he arrived at a house, the gatekeeper would always close the door. And men, women, old and young, would secretly peek out from the cracks in the door and talk. "He has seen a lot, so he may not be afraid of you." He took Ma Ji to visit him. The halberd-bearing man was indeed very happy and treated Ma Ji as an honored guest. Ma Ji banged his hand on the table and sang a song. The host said happily, "It's wonderful." 2 or 3 doctors said that Ma Ji looked strange, so the king did not summon him for fear of frightening the emperor's dragon body. The man holding the halberd came out and told Ma Ji that he was deeply sorry. Ma Ji lived with him for many days, drinking with his master. When he got drunk, he drew his sword, danced, and smeared his face with coal powder to pretend to be Zhang Fei. The master thought it was very beautiful and said, "Please dress up as Zhang Fei and go to see the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will definitely be happy to use you." Ma Ji said, "Hey, it's okay to have fun, but how can you change a fake face to seek glory and wealth?" The master insisted again and again, and Ma Ji agreed. The master immediately prepared a banquet, invited the high officials to drink, and asked Ma Ji to wait with painted faces. sound, the king was so happy that he made him a senior official that day. He often invited Maji to family banquets and treated him with special favor. As time passed, the bureaucrats all knew that Maji's appearance was fake. No matter where he went, he always saw people whispering and not wanting to get close to him. Maji felt isolated and uneasy, so he wrote to the king asking to resign, but the king refused. He asked for leave again, and the king gave him 3 months' leave, so Maji took Jinbao back to the mountain village in an official car. The villagers knelt on the road to greet him. Maji distributed the money to the friends he had made with him in the past, and the village burst into cheers. The villagers said, "We little people have received a gift from the doctor. Tomorrow we will go to the sea market to find some precious toys to repay the doctor." Maji asked, "Where is the sea market?" The villagers said, "The sea market is where Zhao people from all over the world gather to sell jewelry." Maji said, "I am a sea traveler, so I am still afraid of wind and waves." Within a few days, someone came to the door to give them money and asked them to buy things. Maji and the villagers loaded the money on the boat and went together. The boat can accommodate dozens of people. It has a flat bottom and high railings. With 10 people rocking the oars, the boat moves like a flying arrow. After walking for 3 days, I saw from a distance among the rippling water clouds pavilions stacked on top of each other, and ships doing business everywhere gathered like ants. After a while, when I came to the city, I saw that the bricks on the wall were as long as a person, and the city tower was as high as the sky. They tied up the boat and entered the city. They saw that the goods placed in the market were all rare treasures, dazzling and unparalleled in the world. A young man came over on a horse. People in the market hurriedly avoided him, saying that the third prince of the east was coming. The prince came over and saw Maji and said, "This is not a person from a small and remote country." Then someone who was clearing the road in front of the horse asked Maji where his hometown was. Maji stood by the road and saluted, telling him his hometown and surname in detail. The prince said happily, "Since you can condescend to come here, it shows that our fate is not shallow." The two of them left Shijiang. As soon as they reached the shore, the horse they were riding jumped into the water with a neigh. After a while, I saw a palace with beams decorated with tortoise shells and tiles made of fish scales. The 4 walls were as bright as crystal, so dazzling that they could illuminate the silhouettes of people. I would like to trouble you and write an article describing the sea market. I hope you will not be stingy with your wonderful words. Maji kowtowed and agreed. The Dragon King gave him a crystal inkstone, a dragon whisker pen, paper as smooth as snow, and ink as fragrant as orchid. Maji immediately wrote an article of more than 1,000 words and presented it to the Dragon King. Then he summoned the Dragon Clan and held a feast in Caxia Palace. After drinking for a few rounds, the Dragon King raised his glass to Maji and said, "I have a beloved daughter who is not betrothed to anyone yet. I would like to marry her to my husband." "What do you mean, sir?" Maji hurriedly left the table and stood up, feeling ashamed and grateful. "Agree repeatedly," the Dragon King said to his left and right sides. After a while, several palace maids helped a girl out, with the sound of rings and drums playing. After praying to heaven and earth, Maji took a peek and saw that the girl was really a fairy. After the dragon girl bowed to heaven and earth, she laughed. The dragon girl is sitting and waiting with heavy makeup. Maji wore brocade clothes, sat in a carriage pulled by a green dragon, and went out for a banquet. Dozens of warriors on horseback are wearing carved bows and carrying white sticks, looking majestic. Those on horseback played the zither, and those in the carriage played jade. In 3 days, they traveled all over the sea. From then on, the name Dragon Matchmakers spread all over the world. There is a jade tree in the Dragon Palace, which is as thick as one person. The trunk is crystal clear, like white glass. There is a light yellow heart in the middle, slightly thinner than an arm. The leaves are similar to jasper and as thick as copper coins. The shade is thin and dense. Maji often sang poems and songs with Dragon Girl under the tree. The flowers blooming on the tree are shaped like cognac japonica, and the petals fall to the ground with a clanging sound. It looks like it is carved from red agate, with golden green feathers and a tail longer than its body. Dragon Girl said, "The fairyland is isolated from the earthly world, and I can't follow you there. I can't bear to use the love of husband and wife to take away the love between your father and son. Let me slowly think of a way." After hearing this, Maji couldn't help but shed tears again. The Dragon Girl also sighed and said, "This really cannot be the best of both worlds." The next day, Maji came back from outside. The Dragon King said, "I heard that the prince-in-law misses his hometown. Is it okay to pack up and send you on your way tomorrow morning?" Maji quickly thanked him and said, "I am a minister living abroad alone. I have been treated unduly." Maji said, "If it is a woman, it is called Longgong, and if it is a man, it is called Fuhai." The Dragon Girl asked for something as a certificate, and Maji gave her a pair of red jade lotus flowers he got in the Rakshasa Kingdom. The Dragon Girl said, 3 years from now, on April 8th, you will row to the South Island and return your children to you then. Dragon Girl made a bag out of fish skin, filled it with jewelry, and gave it to Maji, saying, "Take it well and keep it for as long as you can." Maji got ashore and dismounted. Dragon Girl said take care, turned around and went back. After a while, it went far away, and the sea water merged into one again, and it was no longer visible. Maji walked back. There was a brochure bag on my back. When I opened it, I found a letter inside. It said, "My parents-in-law must be well. 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. The world of mortals has separated us forever, and the water in this area is full of water. It is difficult to write letters. Thoughts on the morning. I think at night that we can only meet each other in dreams." Chang'e, who also wants to fly to the moon, still guards the moon palace alone. The weaver girl who throws the shuttle also melancholy on the side of the Tianhe River. Who am I? How can I be reunited with my lover forever? No makeup. You are like a wanderer who has been away from home for a long time, and I am the wife of a wanderer. Although we are far apart, we are still a loving couple. I just think that although my parents-in-law have already given birth to a grandson, they have never met their daughter-in-law. It is reasonable. It is also a flaw. When my mother-in-law is buried a year later, I will definitely visit the grave in person to fulfill my filial piety as a daughter-in-law. From now on, the Dragon Palace will be safe, and we can still see each other. The Fuhai will live long and we may still be able to communicate with each other. I wish you a lot, cherish it. There is no end to what I want to say. Maji read the letter over and over again, crying. The 2 children hugged his neck and said, "Go home." Maji knew that his mother's life was short, so he prepared clothes and coffins, and planted more than 100 pine trees on the cemetery. A year later, my mother died. As soon as the hearse arrived at the cemetery, a woman in mourning clothes approached the tomb and cried. When everyone was looking at her in surprise, suddenly there was a strong wind and thunder, and then it started raining heavily. In the blink of an eye, the woman was gone. Most of the newly planted pine trees were withered, but now they are all alive again. When Fuhai grew up, he often missed his mother and suddenly threw himself into the sea, only to return a few days later. Because she was a girl, she couldn't go to the Dragon Palace, so she often closed the door and cried alone. One day, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky in broad daylight. The dragon girl walked into the room and persuaded her daughter, "My daughter can grow up and have a family." In an instant, a loud thunder shook the roof, and the dragon girl was gone.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.